welcome back to Call the Damn Leads, show by sales professionals for sales professionals. I'm your host, Drew B. Wilson. With more than 2 decades in sales, I've seen it, been through it, heard about it. Now I'm bringing it to you, my favorite people in the world, the sales community. Because let's be honest, this is the greatest job on earth. Doesn't matter where you come from, what background, what personality type, you can carve out an amazing life in sales. And today's guest, no stranger to that journey. I'd like you guys to help me welcome Jody Durand.
Thank you so much for having me on, Drewby. I do feel somewhat underqualified, but as we spoke, I'm ready to go, man. I'm fired up.
You know, I think anyone who's ever gotten into sales was extremely underqualified, and
Yeah,
it's the hard work and the effort that we put in that it qualifies us to really continue to grow in this industry. So I want to jump right in, man. I want to hear your sales story.
great. Okay, well, I grew up on Walton Mountain. Anybody that you kind of knows the Waltons, the '70s sitcom. I mean, I grew up in a super kind, privileged, warm country farm home. My dad said to me when I was 7 years old, "Better be careful, kid. You don't want to become an underwear salesman." So for the longest time in my childhood, I thought salesman was bad. Like this was before Victoria's Secret, so there was no underwear salesman out there. And so I avoided sales. And I wanted to be a farmer, honestly. And so I got out of school and my dad's like, it's too early for you to come home. And so I took a job. I took a job in kind of sales. I was 18 years old. I was a crop specialist, even though I didn't know the difference between a soybean and a white bean. They made me a crop specialist. And so they're doing a lot of training. And so we went to California for a training session at a fertilizer convention. And I had never flown a plane before. This is the honest to God's truth. And so I get in the plane with my paper ticket. This would be like 1986. And I go down, it was about a third full. And I go down to my row of 3 seats, and I'm sitting in the middle seat. And then there's a seat on either side, of course. And there's a guy on the aisle seat, and I sit in the middle seat, and there's nobody in the window seat. And this guy doesn't say a word, even though the plane's one third full. He just sits there, and I think he can sense that he's sitting beside a country bumpkin who doesn't know what the hell he's doing. And so he starts talking to me and blah, blah, blah. And I'm instantly connected with this guy. He was just a fantastic guy. So we fly for 4 hours, get out of the plane, and he's pumping me the whole time and never hardly talks about himself. At the end of the journey, he hands me his card, and I look at it. Zig Ziglar. That's a true story.
Come
And I
on.
no,
What?
that's not a lie. I'm sitting beside Zig Ziglar, and honest to God, I didn't even know who he was. But his name was so weird, it stuck in my head, and I kept his card. 20 years later, I started into sales, and then I start, Googling around and all that stuff, and I discover Zig Ziglar. I'm like, that name looks weird. Anyway, there you go. There's my crazy sales
I
story, buddy.
mean, how powerful to have met arguably one of the greatest sales trainers of all time
Yeah,
as a young fledgling sales guy and have
yeah,
absolutely no idea. But what I really want to pull out of that story
yeah,
is something that I think is really valuable in the sense of his conversation with you was so impactful
yes,
based simply on the idea that he was prompting you
yeah,
to tell him more about you.
yes. Yeah, that's right. He
And
was an
and
outstanding question man. He knew the right questions to ask. He really
so
was.
this is what I'd be curious to know. After that conversation on the plane with some strange guy that you had no idea who he was,
Yeah,
but he had a really weird name,
yeah,
when you went into the next phase of sales, like kind of learning the crops and the farm side of things, like how did you
yeah.
take that interaction of those questions and really start using it of your own? Like, did you do that, or did you just be like, oh, that was weird?
I'd like to tell you some exciting, sexy Hollywood. It was a magic moment, but I'll be honest with you. Within a month, my dad got diagnosed with lung cancer, and a year later, he was gone. And my sales career ended right there on the spot because my mom said, I'm going to sell the farm, kid, unless you want to come home and take it over. I'm like, well, I'm not ready to take it over. But so poof, that was it. So for 20 years, I struggled with, I didn't struggle. I mean, I became my farm. I took it over and started it up and blah, blah, blah. But through the whole time I was farming, people would stop in and see me like, you should become a salesman. You'd be a really good salesman. And I still had the underwear salesman in my head. And I kept saying, no, 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 no. And then finally, after, again, like 20 years almost, this is when my life took an absolute 180-degree turn. Somebody said, I want you to run our telemarketing call center, our outbound telemarketing call center, as in, hello, is this Drewby? This is Jody calling from AT&T, that kind of a call center. And so I
Okay.
took that thing on, and that was the 3 year journey that saw my life go as low as possible. By the end of those 3 years, I was bankrupt, divorced, lost everything, including all my family farm, everything. I thought I'd lost everything. But you know what did happen is during those 3 years, I remembered one, why I loved agriculture, and two, I discovered that I was a salesman. I was a salesman. I got on the phone and I could show these people how to do it. And they're like, wow, where'd you learn how to sell? I'm like, I don't know. I just always was there, but I denied myself the whole time what I really was. And then when I hit the ground, and this is really another message for your listeners, when I hit the ground selling, I was lucky enough to be starving. I had 4 kids that needed food, that still wanted to go play hockey, that still wanted to go to school, that needed money. And Dad, get your bum going and start selling because you need to make money. And in the first 6 months at that new feed job, I sold more accounts than anybody had ever sold for 30 years before that. I remember because we got a $50 bonus for every account. And in 6 months, I sold 8 new accounts, which for your listeners are like, well, that doesn't sound that many. You have to understand the agricultural world is really small. There's only 200 accounts in the whole area. If you had 40, you had as many as you were ever going to get. I got 8 in 6 months, and I brought it to the administrator, and I said, "Here's my." She's like, "There's no way you got all these accounts in 6 months." I said, "I did," and she was looking at my face for. I said, "No, I did," and then she's like, "I've done this job for 30 years. I've never seen anybody do that." And all I said to her was, "When do I get my $50?" That's it. And but then, then I really started getting into it. Then people were like, "Well, wow, you're really good at this. How do you do it?" And this is not very helpful for your listeners, but I kind of think deep down it's kind of genetic. Like you either can do it or you can't. Like you can't. Maybe you can be trained to do some things, but if you're not a salesperson, I don't think you can be trained to do it. Like it kind of has to be somewhat inherently your ability to influence people, your confidence level, all their things. Because it's not sales, Drewby. It's influence. If you can influence people, then you can sell.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, that's just my opinion, but
I and it, no, I would tend to agree with it most of the way.
yeah,
I think you can be like the weirdest, strangest, most
yeah,
introverted person on the
yeah,
planet
yeah,
and still find some levels of success with sales because there's people out there that are like you that will resonate with you as who you are and they'll just
yeah,
want to buy from you because they like you as a person. So like
yes,
it can work. But I would also say that some of the greatest of all time, it feels very natural because they've worked at it so hard for
that's
so
true.
long and they've
That's
really
true.
just accepted that this is their calling. So I'm one of those people like I was like you. I hated sales guys. I'd go to the car dealership to get a new car and I would be so resistant and I would just be like scammy, slimy mother
Yeah,
trucker
yeah,
like
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
want to work, but there's the difference between someone who's like a closer, and
Yeah.
then there's professionals that care. And to me,
Yeah.
it sounds like you and I are very similar in that we are here to close deals, and also we genuinely care about people enough that we always want it to be a win-win on both sides, and which
Yeah.
is what gives us the ability to influence, because we know, hey, we're going to do our best to help you,
Yeah.
and if you'll play all in with us, it's going to help you get the thing that you want, solve the problem, avoid the pain, right? There's all those little nuances to why people buy. um, and I think you're right. You have to have a passion for it, and that passion is what allows you to be successful. If you just hate sales and you hate talking to people and you don't want to do, like, it's going to be a struggle. You can train
Yeah.
all the scripts, all the objection handling, all of that, and it's going to be hard. And so what I love about what you've done over time is essentially you took all of these years of failure and knowledge and learning and growing and going through the struggles, and you put it all in a book to help people understand what that looks like.
Yeah, that's right. And you have to be vulnerable. You have to share some really crappy things. Now I'm doing speaking engagements with the book, and my wife's like, "You're not going to speak to that group." But they've asked me about the book. I want to talk. She's like, "No, you're not, because it's just too close. It's just too close." Like I still have a day job where I'm selling every day, and certainly like the book's nice, but the day job is what pays the bills, so to speak. And I love my day job. I don't want to put my day job at risk, but yeah, it is a truly vulnerable dive into my life. And so, but what's happened, and it's kind of the same as sales training, is when you really get into it with people, then they start to share the real reasons why they don't think they can succeed. And then you can take somebody who is having trouble and you can say, so let's just cut the crap here. What are you really scared of? And so why are they afraid? Like, let's just talk about sales for a second. Why do people not want to say, Drewby, are you ready to buy? The number one reason is they don't want to hear Drewby say no. Because when you were 2 years old or 4 years old and you said, Mom, can I have ice cream for lunch? And your mom said no. You said, that didn't feel good, even though your mom was right. You shouldn't have ice cream for lunch. And when you ask your dad, "Can I jump my bike off the second floor balcony into the?" She's like, "No," but you're like, "That'd be so fun." And you're like, so no is kind of from early on a bad word in your head, but when you get into it and you start selling, you realize no is just a way to get to yes. I'm glad you told me no, because if you just said, well, I'm not sure and I'll get back to you, that's no good. No is much better. I mean, the best is yes, of
Yep.
course, but no is much better. No is like, okay, well then let's unlock the code here. Let's figure out what the deal is. Let's ask questions. Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Actually,
and I think what you said about getting vulnerable is a big part of sales that some people miss out on, because
yeah.
when you are able to be vulnerable in a conversation and share, you don't want to overshare, right? Like, there's a
No, no.
line for sure.
Oh yeah, yeah,
um,
yeah,
but being able to connect with people on a human level is what gives that extra added trust to make them go, even if he's not the smartest, most successful person in the world, like, we're similar, and so I have faith and belief that he can actually do the thing that he's telling me to do.
yeah,
And in a world like agriculture, I would imagine that, I mean, it's an industry that's been around for hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of years.
yes.
And so there's a lot of old school, like, deep
Relationship.
dark beliefs and relationships that go
Yeah.
along with that. And so what, like, for you, being in that space for as long as you have, what do you see happening in that? Because I mean, there's a lot of changes coming along. That I had a chance to actually speak for an agricultural company, some time ago,
Did you?
and there's a big difference between, like, the good old boys and how they live their life,
Yeah,
and the fast talking city slickers that are out there in the business side. So, kind of,
yeah.
what's been your experience there?
Well, it's sales because it's still sales 101, like as in you have to be selling something that's a solution that's easy fairly easy to apply because these are people that are busy. And if it's so damn complicated, look, this is my rule of thumb. If a grade six can understand it, some kid in grade six can understand what I'm selling generally, then it's got a chance. If you need a university education to understand what I'm selling, unless you're selling to university educated people or doctors or somebody that's in that realm, it's not going to work because it has to be something easy because all my energy as a salesperson, if it's like a glowing ball of light, when I'm standing here in front of Druby, you can't but not see that glowing ball of light. The second I leave, all you have is a memory of that light and it's dark. And then you're like, did he say anything of substance? I don't know. I better have said something that connected with the guy because when the light's here, Druby's like, you're mine. I I got you, but I can't be with you forever. You have to want to buy it from me. You have to somehow connect. So I think that's one thing. And the other thing is that I always put the end user goggles on. So in the world of agriculture, that would be the pigs, the chickens, the dairy cows, the beef cattle, or the seed of grain corn that's in the ground. So if I was a dairy cow, what would I want in my life today? I would want to be healthy. I'd want to be able to milk well. I'd want to have these flies off of me or whatever. Instead of saying we've got a new product and it does this. Well, what the hell's that got to do with the dairy cow? If it can you show me in dairy cow language what that does? Like again, that's a bit of a simple explanation, but I go right to the end of the funnel and then I build the sales opportunity backwards from that. Even though the dairy cow's not writing the check, it's the farmer that's writing it, but I gotta think of it with the dairy cow in mind.
That's so brilliant, Jody. Like I can't tell you that there's something special about the way you think in regards to what is the value of this relationship, what is the benefit more than just the product,
Yeah,
right? What are the feelings, what are the experiences, what are the emotions that are going to happen after after we've done business together, and being able to go a few levels deeper than just the surface of like, yeah, you're going to get this thing and it's going to save you money, or it's going to, put food in their bellies. Like, no, it's going to do all of those things, and it's going to create happier cows, which are going to be more behaved, which are not going to have as many health issues, which ultimately means you're going to spend less time at the vet and more time working on the farm. And
yeah,
you're going to have cows that produce better quality milk and better quality meat, which is ultimately going to translate to the customer who's going to see your brand and your farm and go, those are the people I love to work with because it's always delicious, it's always consistent. And it's a layered effect of the
yeah,
fact that you sold them a product that is, food for their cows. Like, there's so much more to it than that. And I just wanted to,
yeah, yeah.
give you your flowers
That's
on the brilliance there, because there's so many people that miss that.
That is very well put. It's very diff. I always worry because agricultural and the population, especially when you really boil down to the guys with dirt under their nails or ladies, like that actually work on the farms, is probably less than a 0.5% of the population in North America. Even though everywhere you
Mm.
drive in rural Canada and rural North America is fields and fields and barns, you think, well, there's thousands and thousands. There's not. There's not thousands and thousands and thousands of farmers. There's farmers, but their their demographic is they're getting older. They're struggling to get the next generation because, and this sounds like get off my porch old man stuff, but the next generation doesn't want to quite work this hard. And
Amen.
so it's it's
Amen, Jody.
it's transitioning the transition sorry, succession planning is a big issue because they're afraid, God, I'm not going to hand this $5 million farm to this kid who just wants to, I talked to him and he's on his phone. Like, sorry, that's just not how the world works. Like I like to say, for managing in the barn, for managing your crops, there's no app for that. There's no app for that. It's called managed by
Mm.
being around. You get an MBA. It's called managed by being there, by actually walking in your field. by actually walking in your barn. Look at your chickens. Look at your pigs. Yes, you have a ventilation controller that's plugged into your phone that tells you here's the ammonia level, here's when the last fan turned on, here's when they last got fed, here's how much water they consumed today. That's all fantastic stuff. But the NBA is what separates the great guys from the astonishingly great guys. Like the guys that no matter what happens, they always produce. And you're like, and I asked vets and I asked speed guys, so do you got guys like that? He goes, yeah, it doesn't matter what happens. That guy is always the top of the pack, and vice versa. It doesn't matter what happens to the guy at the bottom of the pack. He can get the best of everything, and he still screws the pooch because he doesn't follow through and
Mm,
detail.
mm, mm.
And there's a message in there for salespeople as well. Like as much as I said, you can't be taught. You can't be taught if you described it really well. But if you want to be outstanding, then there's a lot of extra things that you have to do, and none of it is sexy. None of it is fun. Oh, I find it fun because I love sales, but none of it is sexy. None of it is fun. I
Well, and
think.
I think you made a really great point, Jody, about the fact that not everyone is willing to do the work. And so I often make the analogy between sales and farming because the
Yeah,
farmer, he has to go out, he has to prepare the field. He has to choose specifically what seed, what animals, what, product is he going to grow on his farm. He
yeah,
then has to plant the seeds or buy the chicken eggs or get the steer. And then he has to nurture them. He has to water them. He has to feed them. He has to provide for them. He has to take care of them. And he doesn't get to see the fruit of that harvest for many, many, many months, oftentimes.
yeah. That's
And
right.
sales is the same way. If
Yeah,
you're
it is.
not out creating relationships and working on the process and nurturing things, your harvest is not going to be that good.
No, no, you got to fill that funnel. You got to fill that funnel any way, shape, or form. So, like the agricultural world is, it's. I'm sure there's other industries that are the same, but we just don't have unlimited prospects. Like we don't have more prospects than I ever could see. No, I am very easily. I could see all my prospects inside of a year. Not a problem. Hell, in my market specifically, I can see all my prospects in a month. Like it's small, the
Hmm.
number of prospects, the business is millions of dollars. I sell $5 million worth of stuff. But to say there's 1,000 people, there's 25 decision makers, but there's 1,000 people underneath that influence those 25, and that's where I spend my time. I spend my time working it hard. Yep.
Well, Jody, it's no surprise to me that you've built the success that you have. I am super excited to check out your book and read more of that story and kind of get a deeper feel for what you've brought to the world and what you continue to shine light on. So I want to be respectful of your time because we could probably sit here and nerd out on this forever because I love this conversation. I can tell you do too.
Yeah.
But what's the best way for me and the listener to come find you, follow you, check out more of your content and your materials?
Sure. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. I got a YouTube channel. It's Country Boy Soul, with a few different videos on it. I'm trying to build a web page. I haven't got that done yet. It's a full-time job and the wife and 7 grandkids. It's a lot to spread, but yeah, those are all easy ways. And of course, you just go on Amazon and search Country Boy Soul and buy the book. It's on Audible and all the different versions. So yeah, and I just hit 53 reviews. So that's a big thing for me. Yeah, I've been working hard on that. It's a lot easier to sell books than it is to get reviews, let me tell you.
Jody, I've sold, and I don't say this to brag, but I've sold thousands and thousands and thousands of books over the years.
Yeah, yeah,
It is the most difficult thing to get someone to go and leave a review. And we ask every other week for
yeah.
6 months after someone's made a purchase. So if you've got 53, you're absolutely crushing it. I can't thank you enough for taking the time out of your day to be here, man. I know you're probably out on the road doing what you do best, but you
Yeah.
took some time to pour into our community. So I just want to say thank you.
You're welcome, Sajubi. What you got to do is create a bookmark for your book with the code on it. And then people scan the code and go straight to the reviews. Genius. And then you hit them
I
face to
like the
face.
way you think, sir.
Hit them face to face, buddy. It's belly to belly
Absolutely
sales.
brilliant.
It's the best way. All right.
Listen, you guys know what to do. If you enjoyed the episode, share it out on social media. Tag me, tag Jody. Let the world know that you listened to this, that you got some value out of it. Maybe send it to someone you know who really sucks at relationship-based sales. Maybe you know someone in the agricultural industry,
Yeah.
and you're like, hey, I think you'll actually enjoy this.
Yeah.
Send it to them. Leave us a review. Subscribe to the other shows. Go check out all the past episodes. We're creeping up. We're just over 100 released. We've got 150 in the bank. So we got lots of content for you guys to check out because we love what we do, which is helping sales professionals like you get dialed in, close more sales, and live the life that you want to live.
Thanks a million for having me
You
on,
guys know
Drewby.
what
It
to do now.
was a lot of fun.
You're welcome, Jody. Thank you for being here, man. You guys know what to do now. Go pick up that phone. Go call those damn leads. We'll see you next time.